Hello, crafting friends. I'm Doreen DeCibas from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Simply Stamping Sunday. So glad you're able to join me tonight on this kind of rainy Saturday that we've had to do what I want it to do. And let's see if we can get that to happen so I can see any comments that are going on. Well, welcome to a new month. It's April, and I'm very excited to be with you tonight and ready to share a new stamp set for the month of April. It is Textured Notes, and this stamp set to me just screams vintage, collage, just some really fun techniques that we can do with this stamp set. So it does have 7 stamps in the stamp set. We're going to be using all 7 of textured rectangle dies. We won't be using those, but just so that you know, they are available. And I am also, to help with some collaging tonight, I think that's a new word, I am going to use one of the stamps from the textured Elements of Text stamp set. So let's get started. Tonight, we're just going to do some stamping. I am going to do some collage, and we're going to make some beautiful cards. So here's the first card that I am going to make for you tonight. It uses a little bit of the Woven Textures Designer Series paper. It has some stamping and has a greeting, and that is it. So let's get started on this card. So for materials, you need a 4 1/4 by 11-inch piece of Crumb cake cardstock. I'm going to just use my bone folder to burnish that top and set that aside. I have here a 1 3/4 by 3 3/4 piece of the Woven Texture Designer Series paper. Give you an idea of what that looks like. This is the back side. We're going to be using this design tonight too, and we're going to be using this design. And I have a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 basic white cardstock that we're going to put on the inside of the card and do a little stamping on. Then I have a piece of 3 3/4 by 5 piece of basic white cardstock that we're going to be stamping on. And then I have a piece that is a 1/2 inch wide by 4 inches that we are also going to be stamping on. All right, so let's get started. So for the inside piece, and I'm just going to get a piece of scrap paper because I'm going to be doing some stamping off, and I just want to have all of this together. We'll get our larger piece. So for the inside, I'm going to take some Night of Navy ink. Hi, Bonnie. Thanks for joining. And I am going to be stamping just right in the corner, just to have a little bit of an image inside of the card. So let me just cover that up for right now. Hi, Lynn. Thanks for joining. And I'm just going to add some adhesive to the back of this, and we'll put this in our inside of our card. And that's all we need to do with this part. All right, on the outside, just because I don't like to have a lot of unfinished business, I guess you could say, this is the splatter stamp from the Elements of Text. And I'm just going to stamp in the corners, diagonal from each other, and I'm going to stamp a little bit coming down the side. And on this case, a little bit going up the side. All right, to stamp my images, I'm going to be stamping in Pecan Pie and Night of Navy for the rest of stuff. So I'm going to first just kind of look at my piece here and see just about so I know where I want to be stamping. And I think I'm going to leave the piece right here, and I'm just going to mark a little line there so I know I don't want to go too low on that. Hi Priscilla, hi Roz. And now I'm going to start doing just some stamping. So I'm going to start with the bigger piece using the Pecan Pie. And I am going to stamp one of those going off to the right, and then I am going to restamp it coming up the side like that. And then I am going to stamp the basket kind of right in the center of all that. There we go. And then I'm going to take my Night of Navy ink So I'm going to be using the neutral colors tonight. So these are all the colors that go nicely together in this color family. And I'm going to stamp one of these over like that. And then I'm going to go up like that a little bit just to get a little bit more of that blue in. Hi, Deborah. Thanks for joining. And then I'm going to stamp the greeting that says, "You are seriously the best." So I'm just going to stamp that in the middle. And we're done with all of our stamping. So now all that's left to do is to put this card together. So I'm going to add to the front the piece of designer series paper. And I'm going to line this right up with the bottom and the side. There we go. And you can see, you know, I just love how that looks. Just all the colors, the shapes, the textures. And this is going to go on the front of the card. So we'll just add some Stampin' Seal to that. And I'm just going to center that on the card. Let's see if that looks kind of crooked to me. So we're just going to fix that. Okay. That looks better. There we go. And now I'm going to put some dimensionals on sentiment, and we'll have our first card all said and done. I like all the cards that I'm making tonight, but I have to say, I think this one is definitely my favorite. I love how the blue just jumps off of the page. And here we go. That is card number 1. All right. Let's move that aside and we'll go to card number 2 for tonight. So this is card number 2. I have actually stamped on some designer series paper, done a little bit of collage, added my leaves in green for this one, and on the inside have done a little stamping as well. All right, so let's get all of our materials for this one. So I'm using a pecan pie background, and it measures 4 1/4 by 11. For the inside, for the front, I'm using just the other side of that piece of designer series paper. So it is a closer woven piece. And this is just going to go right on the front of the cardstock. It measures 4 by 5 1/4. And I have a piece of basic white that measures 4 by 5 1/4 that I'm going to do some stamping on. And I'm just going to clean that navy ink off of the stamp. I've got all of this Easter grass, iridescent Easter grass all over the place. I took a class yesterday and made the most gorgeous Easter eggs out of duck eggs and quail eggs, and I posted it on my personal page, so if you want to see it, go there. If not, maybe I'll post it on this page as well. So I'm going to take the pecan pie and the little leaves, and I'm going to stamp that, and then I'm going to take a piece, I think it's a 1/2 inch, and I'm going to put this on the bottom of the piece of cardstock, kind of give it a little bit of the designer series paper and a little bit of stamping. There we go. This is going to go on the inside of the card, so I'm just going to add some Stampin' Seal, and we'll put this right inside, and then we'll look at what else we're going to use for this card. So I'm just going to set this aside while we do our stamping. And so this piece of designer series paper, it just looks like it's meant to be stamped on. It has some pecan pie, like fine, I don't know, dots or whatever on it. It's like a, I don't know. So this piece measures 3 by 4 1/2. And so we are going to just collage this up. So I'm going to be using the pecan pie, and I'm just going to be using it in different strengths. So I'm going to start with that elements of text stamp. I'm going to stamp off because I want to layer the ink on this, and that's the best way to do collage stamping. So I'm just going to put a lighter layer right over here. Then I'm going to take, what else am I going to use to put on this? I'm going to stamp off, I'm going to use that basket piece again, and I'm going to stamp off, because again, I'm trying to just layer some of this ink. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm just going to stamp this randomly all over the front. There we go. And then I'm going to use that splatter stamp from the elements of text, and I'm just going to go all over this in full ink, just to create this really interesting and fun background. And one more. There. Oops, now I'm going to go up here too. There we go. So we've got this beautiful background. Now I'm going to take another color from the neutrals, which is Mossy Meadow. And let me just clean this a little bit. And we're going to stamp that right in the center of this collage. And let me just show you what it looks like now before I stamp on it. I just love collage stamping. And we're going to collage stamp on the next one using the same paper. And there we go. This I'm going to mount on a piece that is 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. And then this is going to go onto the front of the card. We're going to use dimensionals. I'll use that in a second. Then what I'm going to do is stamp, let's see, where is this greeting? It is right here. It says a little note of appreciation. I'm going to stamp that in the pecan pie. To just tear that, just to give it another piece of texture. And I'm going to place this on a, so this was a 3/4 inch strip. This is a 1 inch strip. And I'm going to place this on that strip. And then we're going to tear that piece too. It's just nice to have the different pieces of texture, and tearing is a really nice way to do that. So I'm going to attach this to the front of the card, and then we'll put some dimensionals on it too. There we go. And now let's just add some dimension to it. My pre-order for the catalog should be coming in this week, so I'll be sharing that with you. It's actually the pre-order for the catalog and for the new online exclusives. So I'm going to put this more over to the left, and this is our finished card. Okay, so now our final card of the evening is going to look like this. It's going to be another piece of another type of collage, and we're just going to be adding some other elements to it. All right, so we are starting with a 4 1/4 by 11 inches of Pecan Pie Cardstock. For the inside, we have a piece of 4 by 5 1/4, and we're going to be doing some stamping on this, so I'm just going to set it aside. This piece here, we are going to stamp in pecan pie. One of these baskets, and we're going to cut it out as well. So I'll set that aside. We have I think this is 1 inch by 5, yes, a 1 inch by 5 piece of woven textured, and it's a different piece altogether. And the same piece, I have a little piece that's 3/8 of an inch wide, And then I'm using the same designer series paper that I used before, and this is 3.5 by 3.5 by 4 3/4. And then for our label, it is 1 inch by 2.5. So I think I'm going to start by stamping the label first. So I'm going to take a piece of that woven basket. I'm going to stamp off, and then stamp right in the middle. Then I am going to take my sentiment, which is just thank you, and I'm going to stamp that right over that. So that is set. I'm going to put those two pieces aside so they don't get in the way. Now on our background, what I'm going to be doing is using the same text. I'm going to be stamping off, and then I'm going to be stamping on all over it. So I want to totally fill the background with text. Okay. Then what I'm going to do with the same ink, I'm going to clean this off again. I'm going to use that main large leaf, and I am going to be stamping it in this direction, and then I'm going to be stamping it in this direction. So it's coming across both sides of the paper. I'm going to take the stamp, and I'm going to be stamping this all over the place. And again, I'm just trying to create a nice collage background. So that is what it looks like so far. For the inside of our card, and I got some ink on that, so, well, I think it's going to be okay once I cover it all up with everything. So I'm going to stamp off on the text, and I'm going to add a piece of that in the background. I'm going to take the leaves and go up like that. Can't even see where it was smudged. And then I'm going to take and add a little bit of this background. There we go. So the inside of the card is going to just match up with the outside. Okay, so for this piece, I am going to, I didn't do this in my original one. I only tore it in on one end, but I'm going to actually tear this on both ends just to give it some texture. I'm going to take my little basket here that I hand cut out, and I'm going to put that right in the center or close to the center. So now I'm just going to be layering all of my images and papers to just add to that bit of collage. There we go. On our greeting, I'm going to add this right to the back. and just adding another piece or element of layering. And then I'm going to take my scissors and just absolutely, Deborah, these are really good examples of masculine cards. So this is going to go on to the front. Oops, I forgot to do my stamping on the front. I'm going to do just like what I did in the last card. I actually made this card first, and it just was such a great way to add some background to some background image on the card front. So I'm going to do this on both ends and just have something going up and down on both sides. Okay, now we can put this on the front. Make sure I'm putting it on the right way before I stick it down. And then we're going to take and add some dimensionals. To pop the greeting up, again, it just adds some more layers to the card. And tonight I really am focusing on the masculine side of this set. We'll add this inside, and then all three of our cards are done. This is a great set if you are looking for cards that can be for men. And I know I'm always looking for something as well. And so that is our third card. So let's take a look at our cards for tonight. Let me just get... All right, so this was our third card that we made. Here is the second card we made. And this was the first card we made. Now, the one thing I realized was that I cut this down when I made it, when I was working on it. So this one, I forgot to cut that down. But I still like them both. This one just has a smaller space to do the stamping on. So just to give you an idea of that. So thank you so much for joining me tonight for Simply Stamping Sunday. I am going to put out there that I'm going to have to change my time for Simply Stamping Sunday. I have a Sunday night Zoom that I do with a business group, and they're from Australia, and their time just changed. And so now instead of a 6 o'clock Zoom, it's a 7 o'clock Zoom. So I am going to be putting a poll out there whether you'd like me to start after that at 7:30, or if you would like me to go and start at 6 o'clock instead. So I'll put a poll out this week and see what time is better, and then we'll change that for starting next week. So thank you for joining me tonight on Simply Stamping Sunday. I hope you have a great week, everyone. Good night.